I became a painter because I thought that in painting I would learn, I would definitely learn what light was. And I always wanted to be a filmmaker. And to be a filmmaker, you truly have to understand light, light and lenses, and you also have to understand a frame and how a story is told inside a frame.
And have a vision.
And have a vision. And I learned that from committing that time to that. Now, what I also learned was how much I missed the stage, how much I longed for it. My friends went on to do very well. Mark Ruffalo, I just met recently, got reunited with Mark. I needed a job so bad that it was the crash in the market, and I was building this production company, and when the banks closed, we lost everything. I mean, like I lost a considerable amount of money. The great thing was I was trained as an actor and an artist. I knew how to live on nothing, but I also knew how to research and study to get by. Right. You know, and that's what has saved my ass. Anyways, I saw Mark, and Mark's like, Gabe, that's Gabe Dell. What are you doing? I used to be fucking, whenever I saw you, I'd be like, man, oh no, that guy's here. And he's like, well, what are you doing? I said, I took time off to learn who I was. Because acting's always going to be there. It only gets better with age. So I learned that from painting and from my dad's story. My dad at first was like, what, you want me to teach you what it took me 60 years to learn? He goes, sit in that chair. And I like, Dad, come on, just at least share with me the technique, the craft of it. Pass it on. I had this vision of the one, you know, like the Japanese passing it down through the generation, you know, and mentor me, and he did mentor me. I just didn't know he was doing it. He said, sit in that chair, and I said, no, fine, I'm gonna sit in this chair, and I'm not frickin' moving until you help me. And he was yelling at me and screaming at me, and you know, like, you know, yeah, how dare you? How audacious of you? You know, that you think that someone can just give you something that you want. You have to earn it.
And you understand that now.
I get it now, but I didn't leave that chair. And he walked out of the house, and I stayed in that chair, and I said, I'm not leaving this chair until he comes back. And he came back 2 hours later, and he goes, oh, you're still in the chair. First lesson. Okay, I'll teach you.
Wow.
And I treated him not as my father, but as a teacher. And he taught me, and he was not light on me. We went through Shakespeare, we read it, he taught me how to read. He said, you know how to, I go, I know how to read. You don't know how to read. You have to learn how to love the word. You have to learn how to breathe in the soul of the word. You got to learn how to taste it, and see it, and smell it, and feel it.
Do you think works like Shakespeare's is a basis for your art?
Well, I think Shakespeare influences everybody. My childhood buddy just wrote this film, Anonymous. John Orloff. We used to jump off the roof into the pool together, you know? And I'm like, I wonder if that's John, like Johnny. And I was like, that's John! You know, and it's funny, like, I'm coming back now, you know? I feel a responsibility, and that's why I started teaching. That's why I started coaching actors, because a lot of people go to schools, and you learn great stuff going to these schools, but then you have to come to a place when you're really prepared to learn the nuance of being an artist. And that's one-on-one work. And then you take that to a classroom situation.
What would you say was like the hardest part of overcoming something in your career?
Well, I think that still happens.
That still happens.
No, ego is always the answer to that question. I think that now I understand, and some days I forget. I told somebody today that, sometimes it takes me 2 weeks to realize I'm in my own way. When I was younger, it took me a year. It took me 2 years to go and recognize the truth of something. And the purpose of the actor is to communicate the story with the behavioral truth of the human condition, to breathe life into the human soul. Boleslavsky says to receive life, to receive it. You give it to the audience, you say thank you, you give them the performance. And then at the end, when you take your bow, you'll see some performers, they put their hands out, taking their heart back. They put their heart back in. They say, I've shared my heart with you. Oh, that always cracks me up.
Yeah.
I love acting. And I love everything to do with it. The directing, the writing, the storytelling. Storytelling is right now the most important thing that can possibly happen. What you're doing is being a storyteller. You have such an incredible responsibility to communicate clearly and honestly what's happening in the human race right now. So it's a call to arms.
Yeah, for everyone.
For everyone. Anybody who has a creative bone. I cry out to you, all hands on deck.
What do you want to see from movies, from all kinds of art and creative expression?
I think, what do I want to see from art? I'm always looking for a greater understanding of where I belong in the world and how I connect to this world. Because left to my own devices, I get caught up in my own world and I don't share the world with other people. Art helps us share the human experience with each other, and I've grown very fond of that. So I look for that. I look to be entertained, no doubt. But even the action-adventure films, my friends are doing them now, and I love what they're bringing, the sense of truth they're bringing, the dynamic sense of the human condition that they're bringing to these Marvel characters, my friend John, who I just said, who did Anonymous, he challenges the status quo of who was Shakespeare. And people are up in arms about how dare you challenge that. But what's he really saying? I mean, what an appropriate piece for today. Because what is the Constitution of the United States? Who wrote it, really?
That's what we're seeing now with all the protests. That's
what we're seeing now, and it's reflective of this iconic figure in history. What if? It's only a what if question. It's a philosophical notion, and it needs to be asked. In every great Socrates and Plato, if you read your philosophy, you'll see that. If you read Howard Zinn and Chomsky, they just ask you to look at the facts, look at the history. You need to question the authority. That doesn't mean that we destroy it. We are the authority. We are the power individually, each and every one of us. And that is what I want from art. That inspires me that way. I always say an artist's responsibility, an actor's responsibility, is to inspire people to live. That you live that character to the essence, the deepest place that you possibly can from within yourself. And it might not look too pretty, but that would inspire another to look at themselves because you're telling the truth. You're reflecting the human condition.
Art is a reflection, right?
Yeah, art is a reflection.
So what would be one of the most important pieces of advice you can give to someone who wants to take this path?
The most important advice I could give to anyone is to first breathe. We all forget to breathe, And when you feel like quitting, breathe. And don't quit. You can't quit. We'll let them pass by for a sec. You can't, and that it's okay to want to live out your dream, and that it's not a pipe dream to be an artist.
And do you think a lot of people give up on their art because they think it is a dream?
Get a real job. Art is a real job. Because you're devoted and dedicated. You don't go home from your project and you're working on it and evolving with it. And it challenges you. You know, challenges your ideas and your perceptions about who you are and what the world looks like around you. Those are the kinds of movies I want to see from myself and from you guys. But you have to be, it doesn't happen by itself. And we've been in a long period of art where it's very individual. You're going to be seeing a great deal more of the ensemble cast, of the ensemble performer. You know, it has to be that way. Because the world is crying out for a community. You know, we lost the sense of gathering around the fire and telling each other about the hunt. You know, we don't learn if we don't do that. We gather around the television. That's the fire today.
Right.
So if that's it, we can't shame that. We've got to say, okay, well, that's what that is. And it's a usable medium, and it's a powerful medium. But we can't let it control us. We have to be in control of it.
So do you think we're adapting to it in a way?
I think as the nature of human beings is that we adapt. Like it or not, we adapt. Gravity is a constant. And no matter who you are, no matter what your position in your relationship with that gravity, you still want to live. So you're going to adjust your behavior to effectively move with that gravity. You know, that's not to be esoteric, but you know, that's why people love Cirque du Soleil, because they watch them defy gravity. They defy gravity in an emotional, a spiritual, and a physical, material way.
That seems like the essence of art.
Yes.
What they do.
Yes. Yes. And entertainment. That it gives you a reprieve from the chaos and the day-to-day, what Tennessee Williams called mendacity, the lie. You know, we get caught up in it. We get caught up in the commercial and the timed breaks between TV, and we live our life in that routine way. And we have to break that up sometimes, you know. Patterns. You know, we need patterns. We can't reject them. We can reject them when they don't work for us, when we hurt each other. We're not here to hurt each other. And it might be a great deal of time before we really realize that. But art, movie making, poetry, writing an article, videotaping, all these things done responsibly, meaning with a sense of inspiration, of seeking out a deeper truth that challenges your own idea of what something should be. Then there's hope. You know, that's why people are becoming more and more attracted to documentaries. But we have to leave the question open so that our audience can have the opportunity to finish the story on the way home as they walk out of the theater.
Well, thank you so much. I think you gave us all a new perspective on movie making in general.
Oh, thank you.